What it do, Dream Team? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with when U.S. soldiers brought Jim Crow to Britain in World War II. Now, we reacted to a different video on this case called The Incident at Bamber Bridge. But I think this one's a little bit longer, so hopefully they can go into a little more detail. I hated that. That video made me so upset because it was absolute BS of the U.S. to do that. And I'll probably get upset watching this one too. But before we dive in, please don't forget to subscribe or hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the video. Also, if you have a video request of your own, you can either drop them in the comment section. You can subscribe to Patreon and request it there, or in the description section there's a link where I take premium as well as free requests.
The US is one of the most notorious white nations in regard to its massive racial problems, particularly in regard to the African American community. Most members of this community are descendants of the slaves brought over from Africa, and this legacy still affects their standing today. In a previous video, I outlined how America had inspired Nazi Germany. While many may feel the US racism leading up to and after the war is indicative of wider racial prejudices in the Western world, the story I am about to go into detail shows this isn't the case. This story focuses around a standoff between white and black American troops stationed in Lancashire, England, as they no doubt prepared for the invasion of mainland Europe. Alan Rice, the professor of English American Studies at the University of Central Lancashire, outlines it in an online article I will link in the description. In the late 1980s, bullet holes were found in the woods by a bank in Bamber Bridge in Preston. These shots were fired by American GIs against their own military police. The maintenance worker who found the holes asked locals how they had got there and was told they were the remnants of the Battle of Bamber Bridge. This is when African American troops in the town faced off against white military police on the night of June 24th to 25th, 1943. It led to the death of Private William Crossland, and 4 other African American soldiers were injured in the 5-hour confrontation. It overall led to the conviction of 27 black American soldiers.
I was in the 3rd Platoon Company C of the 614 Tank Destroyer Battalion during World War II. I trained as a medic, but I still carried a gun. Every man in our company was black. Army didn't know what to do with us other than they didn't want us fighting with the white men.
That's so crazy. They didn't want us fighting with the white men. Like, Jesus. These guys you have men there willing to help you win the war. But no, because they're black, we don't want y'all fighting with the white man. Such idiotic ideals. Like, so stupid.
Klimbach was that little French town up there near the border with Germany, and we were ordered to take it. Now, the Krauts took out 3 of the 4 anti-tank guns we had, but there was no way in hell we were letting them get the better of us. We were determined to show we was just as good, if not better, than every other soldier in the service.
Yeah!
Between November 1943 and February 1944 alone, there were 44 more clashes following the Battle of Bamber Bridge. This was helped by black soldiers seeing Britain and comparing it to the US. Despite its own racial problems, Britain was non-segregated, and the black soldiers were generally welcomed as fellow fighters against fascism, rather than being treated as expendable and subhuman like they were by the US Army.
Exactly how it should have been. Exactly how it should have always been. Shout out to the UK for realizing that from the beginning, right? The US, these ideals were so stupid and ridiculous. Shout out to the UK. Shout out to the UK.
The evening of June 24th, 1943, both black and white troops were in the local pub in Bamber Bridge. Words were exchanged between the two groups, and the military police arrived and tried to arrest black soldier Private Eugene Nunn for not wearing his proper uniform. However, a close-by white British soldier challenged the military police, asking, "Why do you want to arrest them? They're not doing anything or bothering anybody." The incident then escalated into a fistfight where the military police were beaten back. When they returned with reinforcements, a battle developed with Private William Crossland being shot in the back. When rumours spread back at camp that black GIs had been shot, Scores of black GIs formed the crowd, with some carrying rifles. At midnight, more military police arrived with a mounted machine gun on a jeep. This prompted more black soldiers to draw rifles, barricading themselves in the camp, while others fled back into the town, leading to shootouts in the street. Many of these black soldiers had also been incited by the Detroit race riots on June 20th, where black men were attacked and killed by local police. The British soldier in the battle is a good example of the general attitude the British had to the Americans' extreme racism. No doubt the British had their own problems. The British government did not object to the US's segregationist policy, as they didn't want to cause trouble among their allies. However, cabinet members still rejected it and didn't want to lead their own people in adopting the American attitude towards black people. However, they still didn't want the British civilians interacting too much with the black GIs, as they ultimately wanted to keep in the Americans' good graces. Some British civilians did take inspiration from Jim Crow in their treatment of the African American guests. Black GIs reported some bars and inns did not allow them entry in places like Suffolk. A vicar's wife in another part of England drew up a 6-point code that was designed to keep black soldiers out of her village. While the British public at times accepted Jim Crow in some instances to appease their guests, there are many instances where they rebuked it. The vicar's wife I just mentioned caused outrage in her community, who then told a local paper that any coloured soldier who reads this may rest assured there is no colour ban in this country, and he is as welcome as any other Allied soldier. He will find that the vast majority of people have nothing but repugnance for the narrow-minded, uninformed prejudices expressed by the vicar's wife. There is and will be no persecution of coloured people in Britain.
I love that, bro. And I understand there's going to be some people that are racist in every country. And like you said, some people just adopted the Jim Crow way laws into the UK. But for the most part, it seemed like the British were just very welcoming, very accepting, and saw racism as being narrow-minded, as being idiotic, as being ridiculous, as being stupid, as most of us do today. Like, it's just so stupid. It's it's literally so stupid that you just can't do anything but laugh in order to stop yourself from getting too frustrated or upset just thinking about something as dumb as this. These laws were the most idiotic laws. It's ridiculous.
Another instance saw 2 white American soldiers trying to eject 2 African Americans from their seats on a London bus, to which a female conductor told them, "You can't do that sort of thing here. We won't have it. Either you stand or you go off." To which the soldiers remained stood without causing further problems. The black soldiers were often talked of fondly in the newspapers. Reports of them on hikes, picnics, and participating in church ceremony filled the pages. In his essays, George Orwell said the white American GIs were oversexed, overpaid, and overheard, and went on to write that the general consensus of opinion is that the only American soldiers with decent manners are Negroes. This was in line with the widely quoted British saying that, "I don't mind the Yanks, but I don't care much for the white fellows they've brought with them."
I wouldn't even want to go back. Like, if you're African American or a black soldier coming from the U.S., once you get to the U.K., like, I wouldn't. There's no way I'd want to go back. There's no way on earth I'd want to go back to the U.S. after being in the U.K. and seeing how they do things. There's no way. I'd do everything I could, everything I possibly could to be able to stay over there.
This thing might turn into something. I'm mistaken. Here comes something now.
God dang. Oh, they can dance for real. Jeez.
Former black GIs often later discussed fond memories of their time in Britain. Black veteran Cleof Hathcock remembers, "At the time the jitterbug was in and the blacks would get a bugging, and the English just loved that. We would go into the dance hall, just take over the place, because everybody wanted to learn how to do that American dance, the jitterbug. They went wild over that." Another author, Anthony Burgess, who spent time in Bamber Bridge during the war, said that when the US military authorities demanded that the town's pub impose a colour ban, the landlords responded with a sign that read, "Black troops only," to which a white lieutenant commented that England must be pretty ignorant to let white girls fraternise with Negroes. The events in Bamber Bridge encapsulated the Jim Crow segregation laws that the US Army tried to impose in the UK. The open arms welcome the black soldiers received from the British clashed lashed with the resentment by the white Americans. The Bamber Bridge pub and many pubs in England at the time were a mixed-race sanctuary for the black troops that was absent back home, and it's no wonder that this caused issues with the institutionally racist US Army. In 1948, Harry Truman desegregated the army, and the convictions of the black troops were mostly overturned after the events of Bamber Bridge. However, many black soldiers would return from fighting fascism to a system that had inspired the Third Reich's own laws in the first place. It is noted by veteran Wilfred Strange that the impact these soldiers had by serving was the initiation of the civil rights movement, because these soldiers were never going back to be discriminated against again. None of us were. However, the US Army would still face severe race issues, especially in the Vietnam War. Vietnam saw black people make up a disproportionate amount of the servicemen fighting and killed during the war. US Army bases were full of racist symbols, and at times there were Klan rallies and cross burnings, even in Vietnam. The Vietnamese communists preyed on this discrimination, constantly reminding the black soldiers in propaganda that their true enemy was white America and not the Vietnamese. Some black veterans who were captured recall being asked by their captors why they even fight for the US when they treat them so badly. But rife racism in the US was a constant stick the communist bloc used to beat America with in the Cold War. The fight for equality still goes on today in 2019, with black Americans still suffering at the hands of an oppressive and institutionally racist system that still exists in many parts of the country. There is no more apparent example of this racism still existing than the presidency of Donald Trump. What this episode of history represents is that even in colonial Britain, Jim Crow and the extreme racist attitudes towards black people was utterly out of touch. It is not surprising on this evidence that the US still has a major race problem 70 years later. So what did you guys think of that video? If you liked it?
It's just ridiculous. It's stupid. Anyone who's a racist is idiotic. Anyone who sees yourself as better than people it's a dumb thing. Like, I don't know how hard it is to just treat people with respect, to accept people. I don't know how hard it is to not look down on people, to not be racist. It's so dumb. That's all we have. If you guys enjoyed that video, make sure y'all subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also, don't hesitate to check out this next video, and I'll see you on the next one.